Every 40 seconds, somewhere in the world, a stroke hits another brain. By the time I finish this sentence, it has happened again. Stroke kills more than 6 million people every year. It is the second leading cause of death on this entire planet, and the #1 cause of permanent disability. But here is what almost nobody tells you clearly enough. In a huge number of cases, the brain does not stay silent before the big one. It sends specific warnings hours or even days ahead. Real signals. Physical ones, and most people watch them happen, feel them pass, and go right back to their coffee. Today, you are going to learn exactly what those warnings look like, because the day before, a stroke has a face. And once you have truly seen it, you cannot unsee it. There is one warning in particular, one that Ray had the morning it all began, that is not on most checklists, and that almost nobody talks about. So stay with me all the way through, because that one might matter the most. Let me introduce myself first. I am Dr. James Weatherly, and this channel exists for one simple reason. Adults over 60 keep getting handed rushed appointments and vague answers, told that whatever they are feeling is just getting older, and sent home. I want to give you the clear, honest, plain explanations that a 7-minute visit never has room for. That is the whole mission. If that is the kind of thing you want more of, take 1 second right now and subscribe. I am trying to reach more people over 60 who have been told their symptoms are nothing to worry about, and every single subscriber genuinely helps the next person who needs this actually find it. That one small click matters more than you think. Now let me tell you the thing that changes how you see all of this. A stroke is not the beginning of the problem. A stroke is the alarm going off at the very end of a fire that has been smoldering for years. Think about a smoke detector in your kitchen. When it finally screams, the fire is already there. The detector did not cause the fire. It is just the last, loudest thing in a long chain of events. Your brain works the same way. The symptoms you feel, the numb hand, the slurred word, the strange gray patch over one eye, those are not the disease. They are the detector going off. And in the days before a major stroke, that detector often does something remarkable. It gives you a short, quiet test beep first. A warning that comes and goes. Most people hear that beep and go back to sleep. I want to teach you to hear it and get up. So why does nobody explain this clearly? It is not some conspiracy, and I will never tell you your doctor is the villain, because that is not true. The real reason is simpler and sadder. These early warnings are brief. They pass. By the time a person even considers calling anyone, the symptom is gone, and they feel fine. So they talk themselves out of it. They think, well, whatever that was, it stopped, so it must have been nothing. And when they do mention it days later at a regular appointment, it gets lost in a list of other complaints, in a visit that is already running behind. Nobody is standing over your whole life connecting the dots. That job, unfortunately, often falls to you. So let me give you what you need to do it. Let me tell you about Ray. Ray was 69, a retired mail carrier from Toledo, Ohio. 31 years walking the same routes, rain and snow and heat, so he thought of himself as a strong man with strong legs and a strong heart. He had what a lot of men his age have and ignore. Blood pressure that ran a little high, that he took a pill for when he remembered. A little extra weight around the middle. A habit of 2 cigarettes on the back porch that he swore he had mostly quit. He felt fine. That is the phrase I need you to hold on to through this whole story. He felt fine. It started on a Tuesday morning. Ray was standing at the kitchen counter pouring his coffee, and his right hand simply stopped working. Not painful, not dramatic. The mug just slipped, because the hand holding it had gone strange and heavy and far away, like he had slept on it wrong, except he had not. Coffee everywhere. He shook the hand out. He flexed the fingers. And within about 2 minutes, maybe 3, it came back completely. Full strength. Totally normal. Ray stood there in a puddle of coffee, looked at his own hand, and did what almost every single person does. He decided it was nothing. Pinched a nerve, maybe. Slept funny. He cleaned up the mess and drove himself to the hardware store, and by lunch, he had forgotten it happened. Here is what actually happened in Ray's brain during those 2 minutes. And I want you to really understand it, because this is the whole thing. A small clot, or a small piece of fatty debris, had broken loose somewhere upstream and floated into one of the arteries feeding the part of his brain that controls his right hand. For a couple of minutes, that patch of brain was starved. No blood, no oxygen. And brain tissue is the most oxygen-hungry tissue you have. It does not tolerate being cut off. So it stopped doing its job, and Ray's hand went dead. Then the clot, being small and loose, broke apart or washed through. Blood flooded back in, and the brain tissue woke up as if nothing had happened. The hand worked again. Doctors have a name for that. It is called a transient ischemic attack. Transient means temporary. Ischemic means starved of blood. People call it a mini-stroke. And I understand why, but I honestly hate that name, because the word mini makes it sound small and safe, and it is neither. A transient ischemic attack is not a small stroke. It is a full stroke that got lucky and reversed itself before the brain tissue died. Same mechanism, same cause, same blocked artery. The only difference is that this time the blockage cleared on its own. Think of it like a warning shot. Nobody got hit, but someone just fired a gun in your house, and the next one may not miss. This is where I need you to do something for me. If you have ever had a moment like Ray's, where a hand or a foot or half your face went numb or weak for a few minutes and then came back, I want you to type the word signal down in the comments right now. Not because it means you are having a stroke today, but because I want you to see how many other people have felt the exact same thing and shrugged it off, and I want you to have said it out loud, even in a comment box, so it stops feeling like nothing. Your body was sending a signal. Give it that name. Now, why does the artery get blocked in the first place? This is the part that has been building for years, quietly, while Ray felt fine. The inside lining of your arteries is a smooth, living surface, thinner than a sheet of paper, called the endothelium. When it is healthy, blood glides across it like water over polished glass. But high blood pressure pounds on that lining year after year. Cigarette smoke poisons it. High blood sugar and high cholesterol chew at it, and slowly that smooth glass surface gets rough and cracked and inflamed. Fatty deposits called plaque build up in those damaged spots, like rust and gunk collecting inside an old pipe. The channel narrows. The surface gets jagged. And here is the dangerous part. Those plaques can crack open, and when they do, your blood does exactly what it is designed to do when it meets a rough wound. It forms a clot. That clot can then break loose and sail downstream into your brain. That is the fatty debris I mentioned. It did not appear that Tuesday morning. It had been forming in Ray's arteries for a decade or more. Every time his blood pressure spiked, every cigarette on the porch, while he felt perfectly fine. Let me give you a second way to picture it, because this matters. Imagine a garden hose that has been left out in the sun for 20 years. The inside gets brittle and scaly. Bits of that scale flake off and travel down the hose until they jam in the narrow nozzle at the end. The nozzle is your brain's smaller arteries. The scale is the plaque. And the sun and the weather wearing down that hose year after year, that is your blood pressure and your blood sugar, and the smoking, doing their slow damage to a lining you cannot see and never feel. This is why a stroke feels sudden, but almost never is. The event is sudden. The setup took years, so Ray had his warning on Tuesday and ignored it. Now watch what happens next, because this is where most people's stories go, one of two ways. Thursday afternoon, 2 days later, Ray was talking to his neighbor over the fence, and his words came out wrong. He went to say something simple about the weather, and what came out was a jumble, the wrong words in the wrong order, like his mouth and his brain had lost the phone line between them. His neighbor gave him a funny look. Ray felt a flash of fear this time, a real one, and then, within a minute, it cleared. His speech came back. He laughed, a little shaky, and said something about needing more sleep. The neighbor laughed too. And Ray went inside, and once again decided not to call anybody because it stopped, and because he was scared, and because the thing about fear is that when the scary thing goes away, the relief makes you want to pretend it never came. That was his second warning. A different artery, a different part of the brain, this time the region that handles language. Same mechanism underneath. A clot, a starved patch of brain, a temporary shutdown, then blood flooding back. His body had now sent the same message twice, in 2 different ways, in fewer than 72 hours. And that number, 72 hours, is the one I need you to burn into your memory, because right here is the window that saves lives. Research on transient ischemic attacks has shown something that should be shouted from every rooftop. The risk of a major permanent stroke is highest not weeks later, but in the first hours and days right after one of these warning episodes. A large share of the people who go on to have a full stroke after a warning have it within about 2 to 3 days. The first 48 hours are the sharpest part of that danger. Doctors at major medical centers treat a transient ischemic attack as an emergency for exactly this reason. It is not a scare that passed. It is the clearest, loudest, most useful warning your body is ever going to give you, and it comes with a roughly 72-hour window where fast action can change everything. Ray did not know that. You will. Let me stop here and remind you of something, because we are halfway through and the biggest piece is still coming. Everything I have described so far, the numb hand, the scrambled speech, those are the warnings that come and go. But I told you at the very start there was one warning Ray had, a quieter one, that is not on the usual checklists and that hardly anyone talks about. I have not forgotten. I am going to give it to you before we finish, and honestly, it might be the one that sticks with you the longest. Stay with me. If you want more explanations like this, the ones that connect the whole picture instead of handing you a pamphlet, this is what this channel is for, and subscribing genuinely helps me keep making them. That is the last time I will ask in the middle. Let me get back to Ray. Friday morning, 1 day after the speech episode, 3 days after the coffee mug. Ray woke up, and this time, it did not pass. The right side of his face had drooped, the corner of his mouth pulled down like it was melting. His right arm lay beside him and would not lift when he told it to. When his wife spoke to him, his answer came out as slurred mush, and he could hear that it was wrong, but could not fix it. This was not a warning anymore. The clot this time was bigger, or it lodged somewhere that did not clear, and the starved patch of brain did not get its blood back in 2 minutes. Minute by minute, those brain cells were beginning to die. This was the real event. The fire the detector had been beeping about for 3 days. Now, here is the part of Ray's story that I am grateful for, and the reason I can teach you using him at all. His wife had seen something, once, years ago, a poster in a clinic waiting room, and in that frightening moment, 4 letters came back to her, fast, and she ran through them without even knowing that was what she was doing. Let me give you those 4 letters, because this is the most valuable tool in this entire video, and it takes 10 seconds to use. F is for face. Ask the person to smile and look for one side drooping or not moving. A is for arms. Ask them to raise both arms and hold them, and watch for one drifting down or not lifting at all. S is for speech. Ask them to say a simple sentence and listen for slurring or wrong words or no words. And T, the most important letter, is for time. Time to call emergency services immediately, not later. Not after you see if it passes. Immediately. Ray's wife saw the face, saw the arm, heard the speech, and she called for an ambulance. And here is something I need you to underline in your mind. She did not put him in the car and drive him herself. That is one of the most dangerous, most understandable mistakes families make, and I want you to promise me you will never do it. You do not drive a stroke patient to the hospital, and you never let them drive themselves. Here is why. In the ambulance, trained crews start assessing and treating on the way. They radio ahead so the hospital is ready the second you arrive, and they take you to a hospital equipped to handle stroke, which may not be the closest one. If you drive yourself, you could lose consciousness or lose control at the wheel and kill yourself and others. And you arrive at the back of the line instead of the front. The ambulance is not just a ride. It is the first hour of treatment. Call and let them come to you. Because Ray's wife knew fast and called immediately, he reached a stroke center inside that precious early window, where doctors have treatments that can break up or remove a clot, but only if you get there fast enough, because those treatments work on a clock measured in hours, not days. Ray survived. He has some weakness in that right hand still, a year later, and his speech gets tired by the end of the day. But he is home. He is walking. He knows his grandkids' names, and he can tell you every route he ever walked. He got most of himself back, and the honest truth is that he got lucky because he had ignored 2 clear warnings that should have had him in a doctor's office on Tuesday afternoon, not lying in bed on Friday morning. Quick question for you while this is fresh, and I genuinely read these. Where are you watching from today? And has a stroke ever touched your family? Say it in the comments. I ask because when you see how many of us have lived some version of Ray's story, it stops feeling like something that happens to other people. Now let me give you that hidden warning I promised at the start. The one that is not on the fast poster. Weeks before all of this, Ray had a strange moment he never told anyone about. He was reading the paper, and a gray shade came down over his right eye, top to bottom, like a curtain being drawn or a window shade pulled down. For maybe 30 seconds, that eye saw almost nothing. Then the shade lifted, and his vision came back completely, and he decided he had just gotten a bit of soap or sweat in it. That curtain has a medical name, and it is one of the most specific and most ignored stroke warnings there is. It happens when a tiny clot briefly blocks the artery to the retina, the seeing part of your eye, which shares its blood supply with your brain. It is painless. It clears on its own. And people almost always brush it off, exactly the way Ray did, because it does not hurt and it does not last. A sudden, painless, temporary loss of vision in one eye, like a shade coming down, is your body waving a red flag from the same broken plumbing that feeds your brain. If that ever happens to you, even once, even for a few seconds, that is not soap in your eye. That is a reason to be seen. Remember the curtain. So let me put the full picture of the warnings together for you, clearly, so you can carry it out of here. The warnings that come and go, The ones that mean you may have a very short window look like this. Sudden numbness or weakness in the face, an arm, or a leg, especially on just one side of the body. Sudden confusion, or trouble speaking, or trouble understanding what people are saying. Sudden trouble seeing in one or both eyes, including that curtain coming down. Sudden trouble walking, dizziness, or a loss of balance and coordination that appears out of nowhere. And a sudden severe headache with no known cause, the kind people describe as the worst of their life. The key word running through every one of those is sudden. Stroke symptoms arrive fast and one-sided. That is their signature. If they come and go, do not feel relieved. Feel warned. All right, let me turn all of this into a plan you can actually start using this week, because understanding is only half of it, and I do not want you to leave here frightened. I want you to leave here capable. Before I do, one honest reminder. This video is for education and understanding, so you can recognize what your body is doing and ask the right questions. It is not a diagnosis of you or anyone else, and your own situation belongs in a conversation with your own doctor who knows your history. Step 1. Learn fast tonight and teach it to the people you live with. Face, arms, speech, time. Here is why this one is first. In most strokes, the person having it cannot assess themselves, because the very part of the brain that would notice is the part that is failing. It is almost always someone else who catches it. So the life you save with fast is usually not your own. It is your spouse's, your friends, your neighbors. Say the 4 letters out loud at dinner tonight. Step 2. Treat any warning episode as the emergency it is, even after it passes. If you or anyone around you has a moment of one-sided numbness, weakness, scrambled speech, or that curtain over an eye, and it goes away, you do not wait to see if it comes back. That vanishing act is the whole trap. Call your doctor's office that same day and say the words, "I think I had a transient ischemic attack," because those words open doors fast. And if a symptom is happening right now, you call emergency services, not the office. Why does this work? Because it puts you inside that 72-hour window instead of finding out about it in a hospital bed. Step 3. Know your numbers and go after the real damage underneath, the wear on that artery lining. That means getting your blood pressure checked and actually treating it, because high blood pressure is the single biggest driver of stroke, and it does its damage silently. It means asking your doctor about your cholesterol and your blood sugar. And if you smoke, it means the hardest and most valuable thing on this list, which is finding real help to stop, because every cigarette is sandpaper on the inside of those arteries. Here is why this matters more than any warning sign. The warnings tell you the fire has started. Fixing these numbers is how you keep the fire from starting in the first place. Step 4. Ask your doctor 2 specific questions at your next visit. First, given my history, what is my personal stroke risk and what should I be doing about it? Second, should I be on anything to prevent clots, like a blood thinner or aspirin? And I want to be very clear and very firm about this. You do not start, stop, or change any medication, including aspirin, on your own, based on a video, ever. Aspirin is not harmless for everyone and can be dangerous for some people. This is a conversation to have with the physician or pharmacist who knows you. The goal here is to walk in with the right question, not to self-prescribe. Step 5. If you have an irregular heartbeat, take it seriously. There is a common heart rhythm problem where the upper chambers quiver instead of beating cleanly, and that quivering lets blood pool and form clots that can travel straight to the brain. It is one of the biggest hidden causes of stroke, and it is often silent. If your heart ever feels like it is fluttering, racing, or skipping, or if a device or a nurse has ever mentioned an irregular rhythm, make sure your doctor knows and follows it, because managing it properly dramatically lowers stroke risk. Now let me leave you with the thing I most want you to hold on to. A stroke feels like it comes from nowhere, but for a great many people, it does not. The body beeps first. It sends a numb hand, a scrambled sentence, a curtain over one eye, and it usually sends them in the days right before, inside a window where you can still change the ending. Ray felt fine, right up until he did not, and the only reason his story ended at home, instead of somewhere far worse, is that someone near him knew what to look for. You now know more than Ray knew that Tuesday morning. That is not a small thing. That is a real advantage, and you can hand it to the people you love. So here's what I'm going to ask you to do, and it matters. Think of one specific person in your life right now. The husband who takes a pill for blood pressure when he remembers. The friend who mentioned her hand went numb last week and laughed it off. The brother who still smokes and says he feels fine. That person is almost certainly never going to go searching for a video like this on their own. You might genuinely be the only way this ever reaches them. So share this with that one person today, not with a crowd, with the one you pictured. That single share could be the reason someone recognizes the day before, instead of living through the day of. And if you want me to keep explaining the things nobody takes the time to explain, the warning signs, the mechanisms, the plain honest version of what is happening inside you, then subscribe and stay with me, because there is a great deal more your body is trying to tell you, and I want to help you hear it. Next week, I am going to show you something just as overlooked. The quiet changes in your legs and feet that can appear long before a heart problem announces itself, and the simple thing you can check tonight, sitting on the edge of your bed. You will not want to miss it. Take care of that brain. Learn the 4 letters, watch for the curtain, and remember, the warning is a gift, but only if you answer it. I'm Dr. James Weatherly. Take good care of yourself this week.